The Alpha King stood before the entire kingdom and took another woman's hand. Then he pointed toward his Luna, the woman who had stood beside him through war, the woman who had sacrificed everything to help him claim his throne, the woman who trusted him with her heart, her future, and her life. And with hundreds of nobles watching, he smiled. Not his mate, not at the woman who had spent 7 years helping him build the kingdom, but to another woman, Arabella, beautiful, elegant, ambitious. A noble woman whose presence around the Alpha King had become impossible to ignore. And then Adrian spoke the words that shattered Evelyn's world. Arabella is my true family. Silence exploded across the grand hall. The music stopped. The dancers froze. Even the servants carrying wine trays halted in place. For one terrible moment, nobody knew how to react. Then every eye turned toward Luna Evelyn, watching, waiting, expecting tears, expecting anger, expecting humiliation. Evelyn felt her heart stop. Surely she had misunderstood. Surely Adrian would explain. Surely there was some reason for this. But then Adrian squeezed Arabella's hand and smiled. A smile Evelyn had not seen in months. As many of you know, he continued, Arabella has been an unwavering source of support to both me and this kingdom. Applause erupted. The sound felt distant, muted, like Evelyn was underwater. Support? Support? Evelyn remembered sleeping on battlefield floors beside Adrian during the war for the throne. She remembered treating wounded soldiers through the night. She remembered selling family jewels to keep their army fed. She remembered standing beside him when powerful packs refused to recognize his claim. Yet now, another woman was receiving credit for sacrifices she never made. A knot tightened in Evelyn's throat. Still, she said nothing. Across the hall, Arabella lowered her gaze modestly. The performance was flawless, almost convincing. If Evelyn didn't know better, she might have believed the woman was embarrassed. But she saw the truth. The tiny smile, the satisfaction hidden behind lowered lashes. Arabella was enjoying every second. And that realization hurt more than the public humiliation. Because it meant this wasn't accidental. This was intentional, planned, calculated. A slow dismantling of everything Evelyn had built. Adrian raised his hand for silence. The hall immediately obeyed. Family is not defined by titles. His voice echoed against marble walls. It is defined by loyalty. The statement struck Evelyn like a slap. Several nobles nodded in agreement. Others applauded. The implication was impossible to miss. If Arabella was his true family, then what was Evelyn? Her wolf whimpered inside her. The pain wasn't physical. Not yet. It was deeper. The pain of realizing the man you loved no longer saw your worth. One elder rose from his seat. We support the Alpha King's decision. More applause followed. Another elder stood. Then another. Then another. Each declaration made Evelyn's chest feel heavier. The council knew. The elders knew. The nobles knew. Everyone had been informed beforehand. Everyone except Luna. A cold realization settled over her. This wasn't a celebration. This was an announcement. And she was the last person invited to hear it. Adrian finally looked directly at her. His expression remained unreadable. Evelyn. The room became silent once more. Even the servants stopped moving. Every person present wanted to witness her response. Yes, Alpha King? The title shocked everyone. A murmur spread through the crowd. She had never called him that before. Not in public. Not in private. For 7 years he had been Adrian. Her mate. Her husband. Her partner. Now he was simply her king. Adrian noticed the difference. His eyes narrowed slightly. I trust there are no objections. No explanation. No apology. No discussion. Only expectation. He expected obedience. The same obedience she had shown for years. The same loyalty he now claimed belonged to another woman. The hall waited. Arabella waited. The elders waited. Everyone expected a dramatic scene. Instead, Evelyn smiled. A small smile. The kind of smile people wear when their hearts are breaking. Of course not. Shock flashed across several faces. Even Arabella looked surprised. Perhaps they expected her to beg,
To cry.
to embarrass herself. But Evelyn refused to give them that satisfaction. Not tonight. The banquet continued. Music returned. Wine flowed. Guests laughed. Yet Evelyn felt completely alone. The celebration had become a nightmare she couldn't escape. Everywhere she looked, people were congratulating Arabella, praising her, treating her as though she were already Luna. And Adrian allowed it.
No. Worse.
He encouraged it. Several times Evelyn caught him smiling at Arabella, listening to her, giving her attention he hadn't given his own maid in months. Each moment felt like another wound. Yet none of them compared to the secret Evelyn carried. Because nobody in that hall knew what she had learned earlier that day. Not Adrian. Not Arabella. Not the elders. Nobody. Hours before the banquet, the royal healer had confirmed it. She was pregnant. A child. His child. The future heir of the kingdom. For weeks she had planned the perfect moment to tell him. She imagined his excitement. His pride.
His joy.
She imagined him lifting her into his arms. Imagined them dreaming about the future together. Now those dreams felt foolish. Because the man she intended to surprise had just publicly replaced her. And for the first time, Evelyn wondered if he deserved to know about the child at all. The thought frightened her. But not as much as what happened next. Near midnight, she quietly left the banquet. Nobody tried to stop her. Nobody followed. The palace corridors were unusually silent. Moonlight streamed through towering windows. The atmosphere felt strange.
Wrong.
As if the palace itself sensed danger. Her wolf suddenly became restless. A low growl rumbled in the back of her mind. Evelyn slowed her pace. Something felt off. When she finally reached her chambers, the feeling only intensified. The door was closed. Everything appeared normal. Yet her instincts screamed at her to be careful. Slowly, she pushed the door open. The room was empty.
Dark.
Silent. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Then she saw it. A folded piece of parchment resting in the center of her bed. Her heartbeat accelerated. She hadn't left anything there. Carefully she approached. Every step felt heavier than the last. When she reached the bed, she picked up the parchment. No seal. No signature. No indication of who sent it. Only a single message. Evelyn unfolded the letter. And the color drained from her face. Because written across the page were 5 terrifying words. Your life is in danger. Evelyn stared at the letter. For several seconds, she couldn't move.
Couldn't think. Couldn't breathe.
The words seemed to grow larger the longer she looked at them. Your life is in danger. A cold sensation crawled down her spine. Her wolf growled. Not from fear. From certainty. Someone wasn't warning her about a possibility. Someone was warning her about a plan. Slowly, Evelyn turned the parchment over.
Blank.
No signature. No family crest. No clue about the sender. Whoever had written, it wanted to remain hidden.
But why?
And more importantly, who wanted her dead? A loud laugh echoed through the palace from the direction of the banquet hall. The celebration was still happening. Adrian was probably still entertaining guests. Arabella was likely standing beside him, enjoying her victory, while Evelyn stood alone in her chambers holding a warning that might determine whether she lived or died. A sharp knock suddenly sounded at the door. Evelyn jumped. Her wolf instantly became alert. Another knock followed. 3 quick taps.
Pause.
2 taps. A familiar pattern. Relief washed through her. Mara? The door immediately opened. The young maid slipped inside and quickly locked it behind her. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Mara's face was pale. Her breathing was uneven. She looked as though she had run across the entire palace. My Luna. Her voice trembled. We need to talk. Evelyn's grip tightened around the letter. What happened? Mara glanced nervously toward the windows before stepping closer. I overheard something. Evelyn's heart pounded. Who? The elders. That answer alone made her stomach drop. The kingdom's elders rarely met without purpose. And lately far too many of those meetings seemed to include Arabella. What did they say? Mara swallowed hard. They were discussing your future. A bitter laugh almost escaped Evelyn. My future? Mara shook her head.
No.
Fear flashed in her eyes. Your removal. The room became silent. Evelyn felt her pulse hammering against her ribs. My removal from what? Mara hesitated. Then she whispered the words. The kingdom. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Evelyn stared at her maid, waiting for clarification, waiting for this to make sense. But Mara's expression only grew more frightened. I was serving wine outside the council chamber. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I heard Elder Magnus say everything would be finished before the next full moon. Evelyn frowned. Finished? What does that mean? I don't know. Mara shook her head. But then Lady Arabella asked whether there would be any complications. The mention of Arabella's name made Evelyn's chest tighten. And Mara looked away. They laughed. A terrible silence followed. They said no one would question your disappearance. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Disappearance. Not exile. Not removal. Disappearance. The meaning was obvious. And terrifying. Evelyn suddenly looked down at the warning letter in her hand. Maybe this wasn't paranoia. Maybe someone truly was trying to save her. Her wolf growled again. This time louder. We were blind. Maybe they had been. For months. Maybe even longer. She remembered every warning she ignored. Every suspicious glance. Every rumor. Every whispered conversation that stopped when she entered a room. She trusted Adrian. And because she trusted him, she trusted the people around him. Now she wasn't sure she trusted anyone. Mara reached into her apron. There is more. She handed Evelyn another folded document. Unlike the warning letter, this one contained information. Names.
Dates.
Private meetings. Council gatherings. Secret discussions. As Evelyn scanned the pages, her face slowly paled. Arabella's name appeared repeatedly. So did Elder Magnus. And several council members. Meeting after meeting. Month after month. Planning. Strategizing. Preparing. This wasn't a recent betrayal. This conspiracy had been growing for nearly a year. A full year. The realization made Evelyn feel sick. That meant Adrian had likely known for months. Maybe longer. A painful ache spread through the mate bond. Not enough to reveal his emotions. Just enough to remind her it still existed. Still connected them. Still refused to break despite everything. Then something on the final page caught her attention. Her eyes widened. What is this? Mara looked nervous. I wasn't sure. Evelyn stared at the document. It was a payment record. Large sums of money. Transferred secretly. Several signatures. Several witnesses. And one name at the bottom. The Royal Healer. Confusion replaced fear. Why would the healer be involved? Unless... A terrible thought entered her mind. Earlier that day, the healer had confirmed her pregnancy. The healer knew about the baby. The baby. Instinctively, Evelyn placed a hand over her stomach. A protective gesture. A mother's gesture. And suddenly she understood. If someone wanted her gone, then her child was also in danger. A loud crack of thunder shook the palace. The storm outside had finally arrived. Rain began striking the windows. The sound filled the room. Evelyn's wolf stepped forward inside her mind.
Fierce.
Protective. Determined. No one touches our pup. For the first time that night, Evelyn felt something stronger than heartbreak. Stronger than humiliation. Stronger than fear. Resolve. She wasn't fighting for herself anymore. She was fighting for her child. A child that might one day inherit the throne. A child nobody knew existed. Or so she thought. A sudden wave of dizziness hit her. Evelyn grabbed the edge of a table. The room spun. Mara rushed forward. My Luna. I'm fine. But she wasn't. A strange warmth spread through her body, starting in her stomach, then moving outward. Golden light briefly flickered beneath her skin. Both women froze. The glow vanished almost immediately, as though it had never happened. Mara's eyes widened. You saw that too? Evelyn slowly nodded. Neither woman spoke, because they both understood something impossible had just happened. Pregnancies didn't do that. Normal unborn children didn't create golden energy. And then Evelyn remembered something the healer had said before she left. Words she hadn't paid attention to at the time. Words that now returned with frightening clarity. My Luna, your child is unlike any child I have ever seen. Evelyn's blood ran cold. Because suddenly the conspiracy made sense. The secret meetings. The warnings. The fear. The attempts to remove her. What if they weren't targeting her? What if they were targeting the baby? Then another memory surfaced. One final sentence from the healer. A sentence that froze her where she stood. The child carries an ancient royal mark. The room fell silent. Even the storm outside seemed distant. Evelyn could hear only one thing. Her own heartbeat. The child carries an ancient royal mark. The healer's words echoed through her mind again and again. Ancient. Royal.
Mark.
The three words felt heavier than a crown. Mara looked terrified. My Luna. Evelyn slowly sat down. She needed to think. Needed answers. But every answer only created more questions. Why would her unborn child possess a royal mark? Why would powerful elders secretly meet for months? Why would someone send a warning letter? And most importantly, why would they want her gone before the next full moon? A loud clap of thunder shook the palace. Mara moved closer. We need to leave. The words hung heavily in the air.
Leave.
Abandon the palace. Abandon the kingdom. Abandon everything she had spent years building. Part of Evelyn wanted to reject the idea immediately. This was her home. Her kingdom. Her mate's throne. Her future. Or, at least it had been. But another part of her knew Mara was right. The warning letter. The secret meetings. The hidden payments. None of it could be ignored anymore. For the first time in years, Evelyn felt unsafe inside her own home. Then footsteps echoed outside her chamber. Both women froze. Heavy footsteps. Several people. Moving toward the door. Mara's face was drained of color. They found us. The footsteps stopped. Right outside. A hard knock shook the door. Evelyn. Her blood froze. It was Adrian. For a brief moment, relief washed through her. Maybe he had finally come to explain. Maybe he regretted what happened. Maybe. Evelyn opened the door. His tone was cold. Formal. Not the voice of a husband. Not the voice of a mate. The voice of a king. Her relief vanished. Mara looked terrified. What do we do? Evelyn didn't answer. Another knock. Louder this time. Open the door. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. Adrian had never spoken to her like that before. Not once. Carefully, Evelyn approached. She opened the door only slightly. Adrian stood outside. Several royal guards stood behind him. Not his personal guards.
Council guards.
The ones controlled by the elders. Fear immediately settled in her stomach. Adrian's expression remained unreadable. We need to talk. Evelyn looked at the guards. Then why did you bring them? For the briefest second, something flickered across his face.
Guilt.
Then it vanished. There have been accusations. Accusations? Evelyn stared at him. What accusations? Adrian hesitated. Then he said the words. You have been accused of conspiring against the crown. The world stopped. Mara gasped. Evelyn couldn't believe what she was hearing. Conspiring? Against the crown? The accusation was absurd. She had sacrificed years of her life for the kingdom. She helped Adrian win his throne. She protected him. Supported him. I loved him. And now she was being accused of betrayal? Who accused me? She already knew the answer. But she needed to hear it. Adrian looked away. Lady Arabella. Of course. Of course it was Arabella. A strange laugh escaped Evelyn's lips. Not because anything was funny. Because the situation had become unbelievable. And yet somehow Adrian believed it. Or, at least pretended to. What evidence? Adrian remained silent. That silence told her everything. There wasn't any. The accusation wasn't about justice. It was about removal. Exactly what Mara had overheard. Exactly what the warning letter described. This was the next step. The conspiracy was no longer hiding. It was happening.
Right now.
Before her eyes. Evelyn searched Adrian's face, desperately looking for the man she once knew, the man she loved, the man who promised to protect her. But all she found was distance, coldness,
Doubt.
and that hurt more than the accusation itself. You believe her? The question came out barely above a whisper. Adrian didn't answer immediately. That hesitation destroyed something inside her. Because if he truly trusted her, there would have been no hesitation.
None.
Instead, he finally spoke. The council will investigate. Investigation. A beautiful word. A dangerous word. Because everyone knew the council had already chosen a side. Mara stepped forward. This is madness. A guard immediately grabbed the hilt of his sword. Adrian raised a hand. The guard stopped. But the message was clear. The situation was no longer safe. Not for Evelyn. Not for the child. Not for anyone loyal to her. Her wolf growled. Danger.
Danger.
Danger. Every instinct screamed the same warning. Run. Then something unexpected happened. A sharp pain exploded through the mate bond. Adrian flinched. So did Evelyn. For a brief moment, both stared at each other.
Confused.
The bond had weakened. Not broken, but weakened. The connection felt thinner. Fragile. As though years of trust were finally collapsing under the weight of betrayal. Adrian looked shaken. Perhaps he felt it too. Perhaps he realized what was happening. But if he did, he said nothing. Instead, he stepped aside. You are restricted to your chambers until further notice. House arrest. The humiliation was complete. Then he turned and walked away. Without another word. Without an explanation. Without defending her. Without choosing her. The guards remained outside.
The door closed.
And Evelyn stood motionless, staring at the empty space where her mate had just been. A single tear slid down her cheek. Not because she was weak. Because she finally understood. She was alone. Completely alone. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The storm continued outside. Mara packed supplies in silence.
Food.
Money. Warm clothing. Everything they would need if they escaped. Neither woman spoke. There was nothing left to say. The decision had already been made. They had to leave. Tonight. Before the council acted. Before the next phase of the conspiracy began. Before her child became a target. Near midnight, the palace grew quiet. Most guards changed shifts. Servants retired. The halls emptied. This was their chance. Mara opened a hidden passage concealed behind a bookshelf. A secret route used during ancient wars. One few people still knew it existed. Evelyn took one final look around her chambers. 7 years. 7 years of memories. 7 years of love. 7 years of sacrifice. And now she was abandoning all of it. Then her wolf suddenly roared. A warning unlike anything before. Move. Instinct took over. Evelyn threw herself sideways. A crossbow bolt exploded through the window, shattering glass. The arrow struck the wall exactly where her head had been seconds earlier. Mara screamed. Another bolt followed. Then another. Someone was trying to kill her. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Tonight.
Right now.
A dark figure appeared outside the broken window. Face hidden. Weapon raised. Preparing another shot. Evelyn's blood ran cold. The warning letter was right. Her life was in danger. And as the assassin pulled back the crossbow string for a killing shot, a massive black wolf crashed through the window. Glass exploded across the room. The assassin barely had time to react. A massive black wolf slammed into him with terrifying force. The impact launched both figures through the shattered window. A scream echoed into the stormy night. Then silence. For several seconds, nobody moved. Evelyn stood frozen. Mara stared at the broken window. Rain poured through the opening. Wind howled through the chamber. Then a deep growl rose from outside. Not hostile. Protective. The sound sent a strange shiver through Evelyn. Because it felt familiar. Not familiar enough to identify. Just familiar enough to be unsettling. Slowly, she approached the shattered window. Below, several stories down, a body lay motionless in the palace garden. The assassin. His neck bent at an unnatural angle.
Dead.
But the wolf was gone. Vanished. As though it had never been there. Mara grabbed Evelyn's arm. My Luna, we have to leave now. She was right. The assassin's presence confirmed everything. The conspiracy was no longer operating in the shadows. Someone had just tried to murder her. And if one assassin failed, others would follow. Without wasting another moment, Evelyn followed Mara into the hidden passage. The concealed tunnel stretched beneath the palace. Cold stone walls surrounded them. Ancient torches flickered weakly. The further they traveled, the heavier Evelyn's thoughts became. The attack changed everything. Until tonight, part of her still hoped there had been a misunderstanding. That Adrian would eventually realize the truth. That someone would stop this madness. But assassins didn't appear because of misunderstandings. Assassins appeared because someone wanted her dead, and powerful people were helping them. The realization made her stomach churn. After nearly an hour underground, they finally reached an abandoned exit beyond the city walls. Rain immediately soaked their clothes. Thunder rolled across the sky. The kingdom behind them looked distant, cold, unfamiliar. No longer home. Evelyn took a deep breath. She was officially a fugitive. The Luna of the kingdom was running for her life. And nobody knew she carried the future heir. Or perhaps someone did. Which was even more terrifying. They entered the forest. Branches swayed violently overhead. The storm continued to rage. Yet despite the danger, Evelyn felt something unexpected. Freedom. Painful freedom. For the first time in years, nobody was watching her. Nobody was judging her. Nobody was forcing her to smile while her heart broke. The feeling lasted only minutes. Then her wolf became alert again. Someone was following them. Evelyn stopped. Mara immediately noticed. What is it? We aren't alone. The forest became silent. Too silent. The sounds of insects vanished. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then a voice emerged from the darkness. You're finally leaving. Mara gasped. A tall figure stepped between the trees.
A man.
Broad shoulders. Dark clothing. Silver eyes. And a scar running across his jaw. Evelyn instantly shifted into a defensive stance. The stranger raised both hands. I am not your enemy. That's exactly what an enemy would say. A faint smile appeared on his face. Fair point. His calmness only made him more suspicious. Most people would be nervous facing an angry Luna. This man looked completely unconcerned, as if he already knew how the encounter would end. The stranger studied her carefully. Then his expression softened. Your mother had the same eyes. The world stopped. Evelyn stared at him. What did you say? The man stepped forward. Rain dripped from his dark hair. Your mother. His voice remained steady. I knew her. 1,000 questions exploded inside Evelyn's mind. Impossible. Her mother died when she was a child. Very few people even remembered her. Who are you? The man lowered his head respectfully. My name is Heir. His silver eyes met hers. I swore an oath to protect the last daughter of House Nightfall. Evelyn's breath caught. House Nightfall. The name felt strangely familiar, like a distant memory buried beneath years of silence. A name her mother once whispered. A name her father refused to discuss. A name that always seemed connected to fear. Heir reached into his cloak. Mara immediately grabbed a dagger. But Heir moved slowly.
Carefully.
He removed a small object wrapped in cloth. Then handed it to Evelyn. Open it. Reluctantly, she did. Inside rested a silver pendant. Ancient. Beautiful. Decorated with a symbol she had seen before. Her entire body froze. Because the same symbol was etched onto a ring her mother left behind. The ring Evelyn still kept hidden. The ring nobody else had ever recognized. Her hands trembled. Where did you get this? Heir's expression darkened. From your grandfather. The world tilted. My grandfather died before I was born.
No.
Heir shook his head. He was executed. Silence. Even the storm seemed to fade. Executed? Evelyn had never heard that story. Never. Her parents told her nothing. Everyone around her remained silent whenever she asked about family history. Now she suddenly understood why. Because somebody had hidden the truth. Heir looked toward the distant kingdom. then back at Evelyn. They lied to you. The words struck harder than any weapon. They erased your history. Another flash of lightning illuminated the forest. For a brief moment, Kale's expression became grim. Your family was once one of the most powerful bloodlines in the werewolf world. Evelyn felt dizzy.
No.
That wasn't possible. She was the daughter of minor nobles. Nothing more. Nothing special. Nothing important. Yet, deep down, something felt familiar. As though her soul already knew the truth. As though pieces of a forgotten puzzle were finally returning. Kale stepped closer. Your enemies know who you are. Evelyn's pulse quickened. What are you talking about? The council. His voice hardened. Arabella. Another pause. Elder Magnus. Their names felt poisonous. They discovered your bloodline. Fear spread through Evelyn's chest. And Kale's silver eyes darkened. And they are terrified. Terrified? Of her? That made no sense. She was running through a forest with nothing. No throne.
No army.
No power. Why would anyone fear her? Kale slowly pointed toward her stomach. The answer hit her instantly. The baby. His expression confirmed it. The child changes everything. A cold realization settled over her. The conspiracy. The assassination attempt. The warning letter. The accusations. It wasn't only about removing Luna. It was about preventing something much bigger. Something tied directly to her bloodline. Something tied directly to her child. Then Kale spoke words that made her heart stop. Your unborn child is the first true royal heir born in over a century. The forest became silent. Even the storm seemed to retreat. Evelyn stared at Kale, unable to process what she had just heard. A royal heir? The words felt unreal. Impossible. She looked down at her stomach. The child growing inside her suddenly felt heavier. Not physically. Symbolically. As though the fate of entire kingdoms had somehow settled upon tiny shoulders not yet born. Kale nodded. The first true royal heir in over a century. Mara looked equally stunned. Neither woman spoke. Because there was only one question that mattered. If that's true. Evelyn's voice barely emerged. Then who am I? Kale's expression softened. For the first time, genuine sadness appeared in his eyes. The daughter of House Nightfall. Lightning flashed across the sky. The silver pendant glowed briefly in Evelyn's hand. And suddenly Kale began revealing a story buried for decades. A story someone had worked very hard to erase. Before the current kingdoms existed, there was only one royal bloodline. He looked toward the horizon. The Nightfall dynasty. The name sent a strange shiver through Evelyn. Something ancient stirred inside her. Something sleeping. Something forgotten. Kale continued. For generations, House Nightfall united the werewolf territories. Their rulers were blessed by the moon goddess herself. Their blood carried gifts unlike any other. Evelyn listened carefully. Every word felt important. Every sentence explained pieces of a mystery she never knew existed. What happened to them? Kale's expression darkened. Betrayal. One word. One familiar word. The same force that had destroyed her life. The same force that now threatened her child. Powerful families became jealous. Greedy. Ambitious. They wanted the throne for themselves. His jaw tightened. So they started a war. A cold feeling settled over Evelyn. Because suddenly the pattern sounded familiar. Conspiracies. Manipulation.
Lies.
The same methods are being used against her now. The royal family was overthrown. Most were killed. The survivors disappeared. Kale looked directly into her eyes. Or so everyone believed. The meaning became obvious. Someone survived. Someone escaped. Someone carried the bloodline forward. Her mother. Tears filled Evelyn's eyes. All her life, she believed her family was ordinary. Now she was discovering her parents had sacrificed everything to protect her, including the truth. Why didn't they tell me?
Kale sighed.
Because knowledge is dangerous. A painful silence followed. The fewer people who knew your identity, the safer you remained. Evelyn looked away. It almost worked. Almost. Until someone discovered the truth. How did the council find out? Kale's expression became grim. Your pregnancy. Her stomach tightened. What does my pregnancy have to do with it? The royal bloodline reveals itself during pregnancy. Mara frowned. What does that mean? Kale pointed toward Evelyn. The golden light. Evelyn froze. The strange glow. The warmth. The energy beneath her skin. The impossible phenomenon she experienced earlier. It wasn't random. Kale nodded. The child awakened dormant royal magic. The realization sent chills through her body. For years she carried royal blood without knowing it. Now her unborn child was activating powers hidden for generations. And powerful people had noticed. Suddenly, everything made sense. The secret meetings. The fear. The assassination attempt. The accusations. The urgency. The council wasn't afraid of Evelyn. They were afraid of what she represented. A legitimate claim. A forgotten bloodline. A future ruler. A prophecy. Then Kale reached into his cloak once more. This time he removed an ancient scroll. Its edges were worn with age. The seal looked centuries old. What is that? His expression became serious. The reason they're terrified. Slowly, he handed the scroll to her. Evelyn carefully opened it. Ancient writing covered the page. At first she struggled to understand it. Then one section immediately caught her attention. A prophecy. Her heartbeat accelerated. The old text read, "When the royal blood returns beneath the moon, and the lost daughter carries the future king, the false throne shall crumble, and the true bloodline shall rise again." Silence followed. Mara looked horrified. Kale looked unsurprised. Evelyn felt her entire world shifting. The prophecy wasn't vague. It wasn't symbolic. It described her. The lost daughter. The unborn heir. The collapse of a false throne. The rise of a forgotten dynasty. Suddenly Adrian's kingdom felt very small, very fragile, and very vulnerable. Because if this prophecy became public, everything could change. Wars could begin. Alliances could break. Kings could fall. Then a terrifying thought entered her mind. Does Adrian know? Kale remained silent. That silence was answered enough. Evelyn's stomach dropped. If Adrian knew, then his betrayal became even worse. Because it meant he didn't simply abandon her. He abandoned his own heir, his own future, his own family. For power. For politics. For Arabella. The pain of that realization cut deeper than she expected. But before she could speak again, Kale suddenly became alert. His head snapped toward the forest. The same instant, Evelyn's wolf growled. Danger.
Close.
Very close. Several shadows moved between the trees. Too many. Far too many. Mara's face turned pale. We've been followed. Kale immediately stepped in front of them. His expression hardened. The calm protector vanished. A warrior stood in his place. Then dozens of glowing eyes appeared in the darkness, surrounding them.
Closing in.
A voice echoed through the forest. Cold. Confidence. Familiar. Bring me the girl. Evelyn's blood froze. Because she recognized that voice. Elder Magnus. The mastermind behind the council. And he had found them. The forest erupted into chaos. Dozens of warriors emerged from the darkness. Their eyes glowed beneath the moonlight. Their weapons gleamed through the rain. Every escape route was blocked. Evelyn immediately understood. This wasn't a search party. It was an execution squad. Elder Magnus slowly stepped forward. A cruel smile stretched across his face. For years he had appeared wise, respectable, loyal. Now the mask is gone, and the monster underneath was finally visible. You've caused quite a bit of trouble, Princess. The title made Evelyn's blood run cold. Princess. He knew. There was no point denying it anymore. Magnus already possessed the truth. Kale moved protectively in front of Evelyn and Mara. You won't touch her. Magnus laughed. A dark, unpleasant sound. You're still alive? His gaze shifted toward Kale. I should have finished your bloodline years ago. The statement sent alarm through Evelyn. Years ago? How long had this man been hunting the remnants of House Nightfall? How many people had died, because of him. Magnus raised a hand. Immediately, several warriors advanced. The girl and the child must die tonight. The child. Not Evelyn. The child. Everything always returned to the same thing.
The heir.
The prophecy. The future. Cale's eyes flashed silver. Run. Evelyn stared at him. What? Run. The command exploded from him. The next second, Cale shifted. Bones cracked. Muscles expanded. A massive silver wolf burst forward. Twice the size of ordinary werewolves.
Terrifying.
Ancient. Powerful. The attackers hesitated. Only for a moment. Then a battle erupted. Cale slammed into the nearest warrior. The impact sent bodies flying. Claws flashed. Growls thundered through the forest. Warriors crashed into trees. Weapons scattered. Blood stained the rain-soaked ground. Move, Mara shouted. She grabbed Evelyn's hand. Together they ran. Branches whipped against their faces. Roots threatened to trip them. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed through the forest. Every roar made Evelyn's heart ache, because she knew Cale was sacrificing himself for her, the protector her family had entrusted with their legacy, the man who barely knew her, yet was willing to die for her. Hours seemed to pass, though it was probably only minutes. Finally, they reached a rocky cliff overlooking a river. Mara stopped. Panic filled her eyes. We're trapped. Evelyn looked around. She was right. The cliff dropped hundreds of feet. The river below roared violently. The forest behind them remained dangerous. Then another sound emerged. Footsteps. Approaching. Magnus' men.
Closing in. Fast.
Evelyn placed a hand over her stomach, instinctively protecting her child, protecting the future, protecting the prophecy. Then something unexpected happened. A strange warmth spread through her body. The same warmth she felt inside the palace. Only stronger. Much stronger. Golden light appeared beneath her skin. Brighter than before. The air around her seemed to shimmer. Mara stared. Evelyn. The glow intensified. For a brief moment, the entire cliff became illuminated. The approaching warriors froze. Fear spread across their faces. Some even stepped backward, as though they recognized something. Something ancient. Something powerful. Then the light vanished. Just as quickly as it appeared. Silence followed. Nobody understood what had happened. Least of all Evelyn. But one thing was clear. The child was changing. The royal bloodline was awakening. And that terrified their enemies. Far away, inside the capital, another storm was unfolding. Alpha King Adrian sat alone in his private study. The celebration had ended hours ago. Arabella had finally retired to her chambers. The palace was quiet. Yet something felt wrong. Terribly wrong. He couldn't explain it. Since Evelyn left the banquet, an uncomfortable feeling lingered in his chest. An emptiness. A pressure. A sense of loss. The mate bond felt different. Weaker. More distant. As though she were moving farther away, with every passing hour. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Enter. The royal healer hurried inside. The elderly woman looked nervous. Almost frightened. Adrian frowned. What is it? The healer hesitated. Then she closed the door. Your Majesty, there is something you must know. A bad feeling settled in his stomach. What happened? The healer's hands trembled. I believed you already knew. Knew what? The woman looked confused. Then I was horrified. As though she had just realized a terrible mistake. About the Luna. Adrian immediately stood. What about Evelyn? The healer swallowed. My king. Her voice shook. The Luna is carrying a child. Silence. Complete silence. Adrian stared at her, unable to process the words. A child. Evelyn was pregnant. His child. His heir. The room seemed to tilt. His mind instantly replayed the banquet. The humiliation. The betrayal. The look in Evelyn's eyes. The distance in her voice. The pain he ignored. And suddenly, every memory became unbearable. His heir. His family. His future. Everything he wanted. Everything he claimed to value. And he hadn't known. Or worse. He never gave her the chance to tell him. The realization hit like a physical blow. Adrian staggered backward.
No.
The healer looked confused. My king.
No.
His voice cracked. The word escaped like a prayer, like denial, like regret, because for the first time, he saw the full consequences of his actions. And then the healer delivered the second revelation, the one that shattered him completely. There is more. Adrian slowly looked up. The healer's face was pale. The child carries an ancient royal mark. The color drained from Adrian's face, because he knew exactly what that meant. And, for the first time in years, the Alpha King was afraid. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed to close around Adrian. He stared at the royal healer, unable to speak, unable to move, unable to escape the crushing realization settling over him. Evelyn had been carrying his child, their child, and while she carried the future heir of the kingdom, he had stood before hundreds of people and publicly replaced her. The memory made him sick. The healer lowered her eyes. My king. Adrian barely heard her. His thoughts were racing, replaying every conversation, every warning, every moment he ignored me, every opportunity he wasted. For months, Evelyn had seemed distant,
Quiet. Sad.
and instead of asking why, he allowed himself to believe the lies others fed him. A painful ache surged through the mate bond, stronger than before. For a brief second he felt her.
Fear. Exhaustion. Pain.
Then the connection faded again. Weaker. Far weaker. His wolf stirred violently. Find her. The command echoed inside his mind. Find your mate. Find your heir. Adrian gripped the edge of his desk. The truth was becoming impossible to ignore. Something terrible was happening, and he had helped create it. Where is she? The healer looked confused. My king. Evelyn. His voice hardened. Where is my Luna? The healer's face paled. I thought she was with you. A terrible silence followed. Then another knock interrupted them. The door burst open. A royal guard rushed inside, breathing heavily, panicked. My king. Adrian immediately sensed trouble. What happened? The guard swallowed. Luna's chambers were attacked. The world stopped. Adrian's blood ran cold. What? We found shattered glass. The guard struggled to catch his breath. An assassin was waiting outside her window. The room erupted with tension. The healer gasped. Adrian felt something dangerous awaken inside him. Pure fury. Not at Evelyn. Not the assassin. At himself. Because suddenly every warning sign connected. The accusations. The council's pressure. Arabella's sudden rise. The strange meetings. The rumors. The lies. Someone had manipulated everything. And while he was busy pushing Evelyn away, they had been hunting her. Was she hurt? The guard shook his head. No, Your Majesty. Relief washed over him. Briefly. Then the guard continued. She's gone.
Gone.
The word struck harder than any blade.
Gone.
Not missing. Not hiding.
Gone.
She had left. And she had every reason to. The image of her standing in the banquet hall returned. The forced smile. The pain hidden behind her eyes. The way she called him Alpha King instead of Adrian. He should have noticed. He should have stopped her. He should have chosen her. Instead, he chose silence. And now she is gone. His wolf roared inside him.
Mate. Heir.
Family.
Lost.
Adrian slammed his fist into the desk. The wood cracked instantly. The guard flinched. The healer stepped back. Neither had ever seen their king look this broken. Then another memory surfaced.
Arabella.
Everything always seemed to lead back to Arabella. The timing, the accusations, the council, the pressure, the manipulation. For the first time, Adrian allowed himself to consider something he should have questioned months ago. What if Evelyn had been telling the truth all along? A cold feeling settled in his stomach. Then another guard entered. This one looked even more frightened. My king. What now? The guard hesitated, as though he feared the answer. We captured one of the attackers. Adrian's eyes narrowed. Alive?
Good.
Someone was finally going to answer questions. Bring him. Minutes later, a wounded warrior was dragged into the study. His face was bruised. Blood stained his clothing. But he was alive. Adrian stepped forward.
Slowly.
Dangerously. The room felt colder with every step. Who sent you? The warrior remained silent. Adrian's eyes flashed. Answer me. Nothing. Then Adrian released a small fraction of his alpha aura. The room shook. The warrior immediately collapsed to one knee. Fear filled his eyes. Who sent you? The man finally broke. Elder Magnus. Silence. The name echoed through the room. Adrian felt his stomach drop. Magnus. One of his most trusted advisors. A man he had relied upon for years. The warrior continued trembling. He ordered us to find Luna. Why? The answer came instantly. To eliminate the heir. The room froze.
The heir.
Not Evelyn.
The heir.
The unborn child. Adrian's child. His blood. His family. A dangerous growl escaped him. The warrior nearly fainted. The truth was finally exposed. The attacks. The accusations. The conspiracy. Everything revolved around the pregnancy. Everything revolved around the child. Then Adrian asked the question he feared most. Who else was involved? The warrior hesitated. For a second, fear returned to his face. Not afraid of Adrian. Fear of someone else. Then he whispered a single name. Arabella. The room exploded. Adrian felt as though the floor vanished beneath him. Arabella. The woman he defended. The woman he elevated. The woman he allowed to stand beside him. The woman he introduced as family. Family. The word now felt disgusting. Because while Evelyn carried his child, Arabella had been helping plan her death. The realization shattered whatever trust remained. Every smile. Every conversation. Every moment.
A lie.
A complete lie. Adrian closed his eyes. And for the first time since becoming king, he felt genuine shame. Not political embarrassment. Not royal disappointment.
Shame.
Because the woman he loved had begged for nothing. I demanded nothing. Asked for nothing. Yet he had still failed her. Then the warrior spoke again. One final revelation. One final blow. Elder Magnus said the prophecy was beginning. Adrian's eyes snapped open. Prophecy? The warrior nodded frantically. The child. His voice trembled. The child is the one from the prophecy. Silence filled the room. A prophecy.
An heir.
A hidden bloodline. And suddenly Adrian realized something terrifying. This conspiracy wasn't ending. It was only the beginning. Because if the prophecy was real, then powerful enemies would never stop hunting Evelyn. And somewhere beyond the kingdom walls, his mate was running for her life, carrying the most important child in the werewolf world. The moment the warrior finished speaking, Adrian made his decision. No hesitation. No doubt. No politics. No council approval. No elder permission. Only action. Lock down the palace. The guards immediately straightened. Your Majesty?
Now.
His voice thundered through the room. Seal every gate. Arrest every council guard assigned by Elder Magnus. Nobody enters. Nobody leaves. The guards rushed to obey. Within minutes, alarm bells echoed across the capital. The kingdom awoke in confusion. Soldiers filled the streets. Torches lit the night. Whispers spread through every district. Something was happening. Something serious. And for the first time in years, the Alpha King was acting against his own council. Meanwhile, inside her luxurious palace suite, Arabella smiled as she poured herself a glass of wine. Everything was going according to plan. Evelyn was gone. The kingdom already viewed Arabella as the future Luna. Magnus was handling the remaining obstacles. Soon there would be nothing standing between her and ultimate power. Nothing. Then her chamber doors exploded open. Arabella nearly dropped her glass. Royal guards stormed inside. Weapons drawn. Expressions grim. Her smile vanished. What is the meaning of this? Nobody answered. Then Adrian entered. The atmosphere changed instantly. Arabella's confidence returned. Surely this was a misunderstanding. Surely Adrian would explain. After all, he trusted her.
Didn't he?
My king. Silence. The single word cut through the room. Arabella froze. She had never heard him use that tone with her. Never. Adrian slowly approached. His expression was terrifying. Not angry. Not frustrated. Cold.
Deadly.
The look of a man discovering betrayal. And Arabella suddenly realized something had gone wrong. Very wrong. Where is Evelyn? The question caught her off guard. What? Where is she? His voice grew harsher. Arabella forced herself to remain calm. I don't know. Adrian stared at her, waiting, watching, evaluating. The silence became unbearable. Then he placed a blood-stained dagger on the table between them. Arabella immediately recognized it. The weapon belonged to one of Magnus' men. Her stomach dropped. Adrian noticed. And, at that moment, he knew. The smallest reaction. The briefest flicker of fear. Enough. More than enough. You knew. Arabella opened her mouth. I closed it. I opened it again.
No.
The lie sounded weak. Pathetic. Even though she knew it. Adrian's eyes hardened. You knew. This time it wasn't a question. It was a verdict. Arabella's carefully crafted mask began to crack. Years of manipulation. Months of planning. Everything suddenly felt fragile. Then Adrian delivered the final blow. The assassin survived. The color drained from her face. That wasn't true. The assassin died. She knew he died. Yet panic immediately flooded her mind. And panic made people careless. What did he say? The moment the words escaped her lips, she realized her mistake. The room became silent. Arabella slowly looked around. Every guard was staring at her. Adrian looked almost disappointed, because she had just revealed herself. If she were innocent, she wouldn't have known there was an assassin. The realization hit her too late. Much too late. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Adrian asked quietly, why? The question sounded different. Not political. Personal.
Genuine.
Arabella laughed nervously. You don't understand. Then explain. Her eyes filled with frustration. Years of pretending. Years of smiling. Years of waiting. Suddenly she was tired. I'm so tired. You want the truth? Adrian didn't answer. He simply waited. And finally, Arabella broke. Because it should have been me. The words exploded from her.
Raw.
Emotional. Uncontrolled. It should have been my position. It should have been my crown. It should have been my future. The guards exchanged glances. Arabella continued. Years of jealousy pouring out at once. Evelyn had everything. Your love. Your trust. The kingdom. The throne. Everything. Tears filled her eyes. Not tears of regret. Tears of rage. And she didn't even appreciate it. Adrian stared at her. The woman standing before him suddenly looked like a stranger. A complete stranger. The woman he defended never existed. The woman he trusted never existed. Only this. Obsession.
Envy. Greed.
Then Arabella laughed. A bitter laugh. You think I'm a villain? Her gaze shifted toward the window. Toward the dark kingdom beyond. You still don't understand. A cold feeling settled over Adrian. What are you talking about? Arabella smiled. A smile that immediately made everyone uneasy. Because it wasn't the smile of someone defeated. It was the smile of someone who knew something dangerous. Something important. You think I planned this? No answer came. Arabella's smile widened. I wasn't the mastermind. The room became silent. Adrian's stomach tightened. Because deep down, he already suspected the truth. Elder Magnus? Arabella laughed again. This time louder. More genuine.
No.
The answer shocked everyone. Even the guards. If not Magnus, then who? Arabella slowly shook her head. You still don't see it. Her voice became quieter. Almost pitying. Magnus answers to someone else. The room froze. Someone else? A figure powerful enough to control Magnus? A figure hidden above the council itself? Adrian suddenly realized how little he understood. The conspiracy wasn't ending. It was growing. Every answer created new questions. Every revelation uncovered deeper secrets. Then Arabella delivered the sentence that changed everything. The person behind this has been sitting beside the throne for years. Silence. Complete silence. Because there was only one position close enough for that statement to make sense. And Adrian's blood ran cold. The royal regent. The most trusted advisor in the kingdom. The man who helped raise him. The man who helped build the kingdom itself. Lord Cashin. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Nobody even seemed to breathe. The name echoed through the chamber. Lord Cashin. The royal regent. The architect of the kingdom. The man who had stood beside Adrian since childhood. The advisor who helped him win wars. Negotiate alliances. Secure the throne. The man Adrian trusted more than anyone.
No.
The word escaped before Adrian could stop it. Arabella laughed. Not because it was funny. Because she had expected that reaction. Everyone did. Cashin wasn't merely respected. He was beloved. The kingdom viewed him as a hero. A loyal servant. A wise statesman. A father figure. And that was exactly why nobody suspected him. You're lying. Arabella slowly shook her head. I wish I were. Adrian stared at her. Searching for deception. Searching for manipulation. But the fear in her eyes looked real. For the first time since her arrest, Arabella appeared genuinely afraid. Not of Adrian. Of Cashin. That frightened him more than anything. Because if Arabella feared the regent, then the man behind the conspiracy was far more dangerous than expected. The chamber doors suddenly burst open. A soldier rushed inside.
Pale.
Breathless. Terrified. My king. Adrian immediately sensed disaster. What happened? The soldier struggled to speak. The council chamber. What about it? The man swallowed hard. It's empty. Silence. Adrian frowned. What do you mean empty? Magnus is gone. The room grew colder. The soldier continued. So are the records. The ledgers. The correspondence. Everything. A curse escaped Adrian's lips. Someone was cleaning up evidence.
Fast.
Far too fast. Which meant one thing. The conspiracy already knew it had been exposed. And if they knew that, then they were already moving to their next step. Then another realization hit him. Cashin. The regent had access to everything. Council records. Military routes. Palace security. Intelligence networks. If Cashin truly stood behind the conspiracy, then he already knew every move Adrian might make. A dangerous feeling settled in Adrian's stomach. For the first time in years, he wasn't the hunter. He was the prey. Suddenly another alarm bell echoed outside. Then another. Then another. The sound spread across the capital. Soldiers exchanged worried glances. Adrian immediately turned toward the nearest guard. Report. The guard ran to the window. Then his face lost all color. My king. Adrian's pulse quickened.
What?
The eastern gate. The guard pointed. It's burning. Chaos erupted throughout the palace. Messengers raced through hallways. Officers shouted orders. The kingdom was descending into confusion. And somewhere inside that confusion, Cashin was making his move. Adrian immediately headed for the war room. Guards followed closely behind. Arabella remained under arrest. Within minutes, the Royal Command Center was packed with officers. Maps covered every table. Reports arrived every few seconds. None of them were good. Eastern Gate compromise. 3 military outposts unresponsive. Council forces refusing royal orders. Supply warehouses seized. Adrian stared at the reports. This wasn't random unrest. It wasn't panic. It wasn't rebellion. It was a coup. A carefully planned coup.
Months.
Perhaps years in preparation. Then another messenger arrived. This one looked ready to collapse. My king. Speak. The Northern Army. Adrian's heart sank. What about them? The messenger lowered his head. They've declared loyalty to Lord Cashin. Silence. The room froze. Half the kingdom's military strength.
Gone. Just like that.
Adrian suddenly understood the horrifying truth. Cashin never needed the throne. He already controlled everything that mattered. The council, the treasury, the military, the intelligence network. He had been building power in the shadows while Adrian focused on ruling. And now the trap was closing. One officer stepped forward. Your Majesty. Adrian looked at him. We need to evacuate. The suggestion felt like a slap. Kings didn't flee.
Kings fought.
Yet deep down, Adrian knew the officer was right. If Cassian captured him, the kingdom would fall instantly. Then a familiar voice echoed through the chamber.
Calm. Smooth.
Dangerous. I was hoping you'd say that. Every warrior in the room spun around. The main doors stood open. A tall man entered. Elegant. Composed. Silver-haired. Dressed in royal black. Lord Cassian. The room immediately tensed. Soldiers reached for weapons. Officers stepped backward. Yet Cassian looked completely relaxed. As though he were attending a social gathering rather than staging a coup. Adrian stared at him. The man who helped raise him. The man who taught him leadership. The man who betrayed him. Why? The question came out quietly. Cassian almost smiled. Because you were never meant to keep the throne. The answer sent shock through the room. Adrian clenched his fists. I trusted you. Yes. Cassian's expression remained calm. That was your greatest weakness. The cruelty of the statement stunned everyone. This wasn't political ambition. This was something deeper. Something personal. Then Cassian's gaze hardened. The Nightfall bloodline was supposed to disappear forever. Evelyn. The prophecy.
The heir.
Everything connected. Adrian finally understood.
This was never about him.
Never about Arabella. Never even about the kingdom. It was about the royal bloodline. The true bloodline. The one Cassian spent decades trying to erase. Then Cassian revealed the truth. The truth that explained everything. I killed Evelyn's grandfather. Silence. Complete silence. Even the soldiers looked horrified. Cassian continued. I hunted every surviving member of House Nightfall. I buried their history. Destroyed their records. Erased their legacy. His voice remained frighteningly calm, like a man discussing the weather. Not murder. Not genocide. Adrian felt sick. Then Cassian looked directly at him. And now her child threatens everything I built.
The heir.
The prophecy. The future king. The true ruler. Suddenly, every piece fell into place. Then Cassian raised his hand. Hundreds of armed soldiers appeared outside the war room, surrounding the building, blocking every exit. The kingdom had fallen. The coup was complete. And Adrian finally realized something terrifying. Evelyn wasn't merely running from enemies. She was carrying the only hope left. The only person capable of challenging Cassian's claim. The only future powerful enough to unite the kingdom again. The unborn heir. Then Cassian smiled. A cold, victorious smile. Bring me the Alpha King. Soldiers advanced. Weapons drawn. And for the first time since taking the throne, Adrian found himself on the losing side of a war. The soldiers moved toward Adrian. Weapons raised. Orders given. The coup was complete. Or so Cassian believed. Then a horn echoed across the capital. A deep, ancient sound. One that had not been heard in generations. The entire palace froze. Cassian's smile vanished. For the first time that night, the regent looked worried. A second horn sounded. Then a third. The noise rolled across the kingdom like thunder. Adrian frowned. What is that? Cassian's jaw tightened. He didn't answer, which told Adrian everything.
Cassian recognized it.
And he feared it. Miles away, hidden beyond the western mountains, Evelyn stood atop a stone balcony carved into a cliffside fortress. The fortress of Nightfall. The last refuge of her bloodline. The last place Cassian never found. The ancient stronghold overlooked forests, rivers, and distant peaks. For centuries it had remained hidden. Protected by old magic. Protected by loyal families. Protected by a promise.
And tonight,
for the first time in over 100 years, its gates stood open. Warriors filled the courtyard below. Hundreds of them. Alphas. Betas. Veterans. Entire bloodlines once loyal to House Nightfall. Kale stood beside Evelyn.
bruised.
Injured. But alive. The battle in the forest had nearly killed him, yet somehow he survived. And now he watched the woman he swore to protect. The woman becomes something far greater than anyone imagined. They're here for you. Evelyn looked down at the gathering crowd. She still struggled to understand everything. Only days ago, she was Luna, a wife, a queen beside her mate. Now she was the center of an ancient prophecy, the heir of a forgotten dynasty, and the future of an entire kingdom. It felt impossible, yet every warrior below looked at her the same way, with hope, with loyalty, with belief. Then an elderly woman approached. She carried a silver staff decorated with moonstones. Her name was Heir, the keeper of nightfall, the last living witness to the dynasty's fall. She slowly knelt before Evelyn. Then something shocking happened. Every warrior followed. Hundreds of wolves, hundreds of warriors, hundreds of powerful leaders, kneeling. The sight stole Evelyn's breath. Rise. Nobody moved. Heir smiled gently. Tears filled her eyes. For generations we waited. Her voice trembled. For generations we hoped. She looked toward the sky. And now the last daughter has returned. A powerful cheer erupted across the fortress. The sound echoed through the mountains, through the valleys, through history itself. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. Not from sadness, from belonging. For the first time in her life, she knew where she came from, who she was, why she mattered. Then pain suddenly struck her stomach. Sharp, intense, unexpectedly. Evelyn gasped. Kale immediately stepped forward. Evelyn. Another wave followed, stronger. Her knees nearly buckled. Panic spread through the courtyard. Heir's eyes widened. Get the healers. Warriors immediately rushed forward. Evelyn struggled to breathe. The pain wasn't normal. It felt different, powerful, ancient. Then golden light exploded from her body. The entire fortress illuminated. Warriors shielded their eyes. The mountains glowed. The air vibrated with energy. And somewhere inside the light, a heartbeat echoed. Then another. Silence followed. Every healer froze. Every warrior stared. Heir looked stunned. Completely stunned. Evelyn slowly looked at her. What's wrong? The old woman's expression became almost disbelieving. Impossible. Her voice barely emerged. What? Heir's hands trembled. Then she looked directly at Evelyn. There are 2 heartbeats. Silence. Complete silence. The entire fortress froze. Evelyn's eyes widened. What? The chief healer stepped forward. Her face was pale. My queen.
Queen.
Not Luna.
Queen.
You're carrying twins. The words echoed across the courtyard. Then chaos erupted.
Gasps. Shouts. Prayers. Tears.
The prophecy had become even more extraordinary. Not 1 heir.
2.
2 royal heirs. 2 future rulers. 2 children carrying the ancient bloodline. Heir immediately began crying. The moon goddess has blessed us. Kale stared at Evelyn. Shocked. Speechless. Then another realization struck him. If 1 heir terrified Cassian, 2 heirs would drive him insane. The children represented everything he spent decades trying to destroy, which meant the danger had just doubled. Across the kingdom, news was already spreading. Rumors, whispers, sightings, stories. The lost Princess lives. The royal bloodline survived. The prophecy is awakening. Cassian heard every report, and each one made him more furious. Then his spies delivered the worst news of all. The Nightfall banner had been raised.
Publicly.
Openly. Definitely. War was coming. And for the first time, Cassian wasn't completely certain he could win. Meanwhile, standing beneath the ancient Nightfall crest, Evelyn placed a hand over her stomach. Her twins. Her future. Her strength. The children who had already changed the world before taking their first breath. Then Heir approached with an ancient crown. Silver.
Moonstone.
Royal. The crown of House Nightfall. The crown was lost for over a century. The crowd fell silent. Everyone understood what was happening. The The prophecy was entering its final stage. Alara lifted the crown and slowly placed it upon Evelyn's head. The moment the crown touched her skin, the entire fortress erupted with golden light. And far away, inside the palace prison, Adrian suddenly felt the mate bond blaze stronger than ever before. His eyes widened, because for the first time in weeks, he could feel her, and she felt powerful enough to shake kingdoms. As the twin heirs stirred beneath her heart, the ancient crown gleamed beneath the moonlight, and every kingdom watched history change before their eyes. The Alpha King had chosen another woman as his family, but in losing the Luna carrying his heirs, he had lost a queen, a dynasty, and the future of his throne. And while a false kingdom began to crumble, the true royal bloodline finally rose again.